Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Flynn. I am the City Council President. Viewers can watch the City Council meeting live on YouTube by visiting boston.gov/citycouncil-tv. I'd like to ask my colleagues and those in the audience to please silence your cell phones, electronic devices. Thank you. I'd like to ask everyone to be respectful of each other and do not disrupt the meeting while you are here. If you are disruptive, you will be asked to leave, and if you fail to comply, you will be escorted out. Please also note that according to City Council rules that there are no signs allowed in the City Council chamber. We're on to roll call. Mr. Clerk, can you please take the roll of the councilors?
Councilor Roy. Councilor Baker. Here. Councilor Draven. Here. Councilor Coletta. Councilor Durkin. Here. Councilor Fernandez-Henderson. Councilor Flaherty. Here. Councilor Flynn.
Here.
Councilor Lowry. Councilor Louisiana. Councilor Mejia. Here. Councilor Murphy. Here. And Councilor Worrell. A quorum is present.
I have been informed by the clerk that a quorum is present. This week's clergy is Grand Rabbi Korf, invited by City Councilor Murphy. At this time, could I ask City Councilor Murphy to please come to the podium and invite our clergy for today?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be able to introduce, many of you know, Grand Rabbi Korf, who will be delivering the afternoon prayers before our council meeting today. He didn't want me to say a few nice things about him, but I think it's important for us to know all the amazing work he does here in the city of Boston. Grand Rabbi Korf was born and raised in Boston in a family that was highly involved in public service. From a young age, Rabbi Korf was encouraged to follow his grandfather's footsteps to become the Grand Rabbi and Chaplain of the city of Boston. Rabbi Korf is a graduate of Columbia University, Harvard University, Hebrew College, Brooklyn Law School, and Boston University School of Law. Some of his degrees, I don't think I have all day to list them all, but some of his degrees include an MA in International Relations and an MALD in International Law and Diplomacy, and a PhD in International Law. In addition to his work as a rabbi, he is a lawyer, a diplomat, businessman, and entrepreneur, and I am honored to say he's also a friend. Thank you for that, for your guidance. It's very helpful. He has an abundance of experience outside of traditional services, including serving as a special consultant to the Norfolk County's DA's office and a special assistant attorney general for the state of Massachusetts. I have had the pleasure of getting to see Rabbi Korf around the community in the last few years. I know I see Randy and others from the Boston Fire Department here. He's also a rabbi for the fire, so I see him at events around here. And our office seeks comfort in the fact that he is always just, it's not a phone call away, an email away. He prefers email, and I appreciate that, but he does get right back to you. And so without further ado, please welcome Grand Rabbi Korf. Thank you.
I mentioned earlier that I want you to know me just enough so that we don't have to read my eulogy every time I come. I was only going to say a prayer, but I was asked, I don't need to say who, to say a few words because I was in Israel on October 7th, Saturday. So I will, apolitically, I'm the chaplain for the city of Boston. I'm not taking a political stance whatsoever. I'll just share with you the feeling. The Jerusalem Great Synagogue is the seat of the chief rabbinate in Jerusalem in Israel. And I was asked a number of years ago to join the chief rabbis on a rotating basis to officiate. And so I'm there roughly one weekend a month, and that Saturday was my turn. And when the air raid sirens went off, we evacuated the building and went to the bomb shelters. My flight back here on Sunday, I was supposed to be here for the Hanna Awards to do the invocation for the state police, was canceled. But the blessing of it was I was able to give some comfort to the people and families who were mourning. I'll share only a couple of thoughts. We all sympathize with any civilian, Palestinian, Israeli, anyone who's being injured. But Hamas is a government that was elected in Gaza, and they took over a territory that was populated by Israeli villages and Israeli citizens. A developed place where there were factories, where there were farms, where there were greenhouses. And within 2 years, there was a water shortage because the factories were turned into missile-making facilities. The water pipes were dug up to use for missiles. And Hamas was elected as the government to take over. It could have been very different if the citizens of Palestine had not elected Hamas. Seeing the pictures on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday of bullet-ridden babies with their heads cut off, comforting a father whose daughter was missing, and when they were captives kidnapped, they used the cell phones of the people who were kidnapped. This father's daughter was missing, and he got a phone call from his daughter's phone, and he said, "Wonderful, thank God." And on the other end was a man who said to him, "I'm about to rape your daughter, I'd like you to listen. And when I'm done, I have friends." This isn't humanity. This is pure terrorism, barbarism. To support Hamas is unacceptable. If we get rid of Hamas, we can support the Palestinians who deserve a good life, who deserve to live in freedom and peace with their own state. But we need to have the education to know what we're protesting and who we're protesting against. Adding insult to injury are demonstrations around the world, not in sympathy with Palestinian civilians, but supporting what Hamas terrorists did and celebrating it. That's what's unacceptable. I have to stop. Many years ago, the Boston Globe, some of you have heard of that publication, Boston Globe published a report about a poll of individuals who were asked what they would be willing to sacrifice their lives for. Some said for their families, others for matters of principle, such as religion or their country. 4% were uncommitted. 45% were absolutely positive that there was absolutely no cause in the world whatsoever for which they would die. But the question is a meaningless anachronism. Instead of discussing things we would be willing to die for, we should be thinking about what we would live for, what we should be committed to doing and saying and believing and accomplishing with heart and soul. For if one is committed to the proper life, all else, including the responsibility to give one's life for the proper cause, follows. That is the ideal pursued by the distinguished elected members of this honorable body since it was first established. And so let us pray. Dear Lord, in these oh so difficult times of suffering and death and destruction, we ask for your divine intervention in moving all humanity to love and value, support, and lift up one another. Help us to share each other's pain, to understand each other's concerns, to open our eyes and our hearts to other perspectives. Teach us to speak and act with calm reason, no matter how strong our views or urgent our cause, to live our lives and speak our truths and act our values in the days and weeks and years ahead in a way of peace and love, compromise, cooperation, and unity, that you may look upon who we are and what we speak and how we act, and find it good and worthy of your continued blessings. We invoke thy blessings, O Lord, on this city family that is gathered here today, and we thank you for what we mean and for what we bring to one another and to the people of Boston. May this be God's will, and let us say amen.
Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Thank you, Rabbi Kor, for those inspiring words and for your leadership in supporting so many Boston firefighters and their families as well. We do have several presentations that we are going to make. Prior to this start of the meeting, we had the recipients that received the Shattuck Award, prestigious Shattuck Award. Those are dedicated and professional City of Boston employees. We had an award ceremony and a lunch in the Curly room for them and provided certificates and resolutions. So again, on behalf of my colleagues, we want to say thank you to the Shattuck Award recipients. These dedicated city employees come to work every day. They work hard, they're professional. They're not looking for any credit, but what they do is make Boston and our city comfortable for all, providing the best quality of life and delivery of city services as they possibly can. So we're honored and fortunate to have such a professional, dedicated workforce. And on behalf of my colleagues, I want to say congratulations to the award recipients, but also thanking the Boston Municipal Research Bureau as well for your leadership on these awards. The second presentation I would like to make is asking City Councilor Erin Murphy, who's here, to please come forward and recognize the next group.
And Councilor Baker, I think, is here. He'll join me when he comes back in the chamber. Come on up. Thank you. So this month is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, so I would like to ask Andrea to come up and join us. She's from Work Inc. I'll say a few words, and I know Councilor Baker, it's in my district, District 3, so he has a lot of fond things to say about this amazing organization, so please join us. I wanted, last Friday, you invited me, Andrea, over to the Federal Building to see all of the Work Inc. workers over there who do a wonderful job, so thank you for inviting me and just seeing the amazing work they do. But this is an official resolution. Work Inc. employs more than 120 individuals throughout Massachusetts on Ability One contracts in federal buildings, many of whom hold jobs right here in Boston. Work Inc. provides an invaluable service by hooking up people who want the dignity and benefits that come from having jobs with the skills and support services they need. Organizations like Work Inc. enrich the lives of not just the person doing the job, but their families, their employees, and their entire community. I many of us, if not all of us, have been in community where we see many of the Work Inc. workers at Shirley's Pantry and other places, and they definitely do an amazing job, but also bring empathy and joy to the community. National Disability Employment Awareness Month is a federally recognized observation that celebrates the contributions of America's workers with disabilities. And the City of Boston prides itself in continuous effort to foster a safe, diverse, and inclusive place where all residents feel as though they belong. So it's organizations like yours, Andrea, Work Inc., that make that possible for those with disabilities. So I just want to pass it off to Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. And Work Inc. is probably one of the best places you can ever go see and look at what they're doing. The rabbi had talked about what we should be living for, not for dying for. Work Inc. gives hope to people that might not have hope, the ability to have a job, the ability to get into training and change somebody's lives. And that sort of concept, we need to spread across the whole city, from our young people all the way up. We need to start spreading more hope, I guess. But about Andrea would be that either glue to hold together or that oil lubricant that would make the machine of Work Inc. go. So I'm glad you're here to accept this here from us, and it's just a little bit of gratitude for helping to build the program. That it's such a wonderful program. It happens to be in my district, and I just love going by there, and everybody in the building has a smile on their face, so they're doing something right. Andrea, please come up and say a few words for us. Yeah.
Sure.
You can just say hi if you want,
Hi,
whatever you want.
yeah. My name's Andrea Cook. I'm the Vice President of Communications and Community Relations at Work Inc. We're an organization right here in Dorchester. We service about 1,200 individuals throughout Massachusetts, all with varying disabilities. We do support services in all facets of their life, but obviously work is in our name, and so employment is at our core. Right here in the city of Boston, we have about 90 individuals working in all of the federal buildings here in Boston. So right next door, where City Councilor Murphy visited, the JFK Fed Building, the Moakley Courthouse, Tip O'Neill Building, and what was it?
Greenway bid.
The green, well, we're
Did
not
we
on
get
the
it
green.
back?
No.
You're getting it. Oh,
We're gonna work on
that. So, obviously we have a lot of individuals that live here in the city of Boston, so we are so honored and grateful for the support of the city council. So thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask my colleagues to please join us for a photo?
Everybody's moving slow. It's like I'm over now.
Thank you for Work Inc., for the incredible work you do throughout Greater Boston. At this time, I would like to recognize and ask him to come forward, James from Mayor Wu's team, from the International Affairs team. James, could you and your delegation please come forward and introduce the special guest? Come on up, guys. I do have a special guest as well, Sarah, who's a teacher in the Boston Public School System at Boston Latin. I do want to ask Sarah if you would come forward and please introduce our special guest we have here. But there's plenty of room up here, guys.
Well, thank you very much for this very special occasion. We are very honored and grateful that we can be here today with you. Well, we brought 15 students from Germany, and we're having an exchange program with BLS. The German teacher, Ms. Flörke, who introduced the exchange, can't be here, unfortunately, so we're here on her behalf. And well, we've had a wonderful time so far. We've been here for 1 week. We've had lots of interesting field trips. We've already been to the State House, and now, well, we're very excited to be here. It's an amazing experience. We've got wonderful host families who make this whole exchange, well, an unforgettable experience and, well, intercultural learning at its best, I'd say. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Is there one student that would like to come forward and give a 30-second soundbite on how your trip to Boston was? Why don't you come on up?
Come on, don't be shy.
This guy right here, you got the suit, come on. You got the suit. If you have a suit coat on, that means you have to speak. Come on, let's go. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Luca. It's been now my second week in Boston, and so far I had a great time at Boston at my family, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Could I ask my colleagues to please join us for a photo? And again, on behalf of the City of Boston, the Boston City Council, we want to welcome these wonderful students to our city.
We're from Irving. It's near Munich. So if you know Bavaria, Munich is the capital city. And we actually also brought a yearbook from our school. So if you're interested in that, there are lots of activities that we do. And yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
just as a little gift.
Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful book.
And well, we want to thank you all and the mayor especially to welcome us here because, well, it's a very unique and unforgettable experience for us. Thank you very much.
We're going to do a group photo.
Guys, come on. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this year is so we're all very excited. I'm very excited too. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Mr. Clerk, will you ensure the record is reflected that Councilor Coletta is present and Councilor Fernandez Anderson is present? We're on to the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes. Seeing and hearing no discussion on the matter, the chair moves to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting stand as approved. We are going to take one docket out of order at this time. And that's docket 1593, filed by City Council Flaherty. At this time, the chair recognizes Council Flaherty. Yeah. Mr. Clerk, could you just read it into the record?
Docket number 1593, Councilor Flaherty offered the following: resolution in support of the State of Israel and the Israeli people.
At this time, I would like to recognize Council Flaherty. Council Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would just like to read the two resolves and then allow my colleagues the opportunity to speak and then put it to the council. Resolved that the Boston City Council expresses solidarity with the State of Israel and the Israeli people, as well as those innocent Palestinians suffering as a result of the terrorist acts perpetrated by Hamas. Further resolved that the Boston City Council strongly condemns Hamas in their brutal terroristic acts against Israel and urges our federal government to provide whatever assistance it can to the State of Israel and to the Israeli people. Just want to make sure the focus is on condemning the terrorist acts of Hamas, supporting Israel, our friend and ally. Clearly, it's a complex issue. War is hell, frankly. And there's clearly now going to be a process with the priority on getting the hostages back. We've got Americans that are held hostage in addition to Israelis. So supporting the Israeli government and getting our people, getting them back and getting them safe. And then there'll be a whole, a triage of humanitarian aid, and then, and arguably probably ceasefire, and then hopefully peace once and for all. But in the meantime, there is a process. This resolution is focusing strictly on the terrorist acts of Hamas and what took place last week, condemning that as a body, and supporting our allies. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Flaherty. And if anyone would like to speak, I'm going to allow everyone to speak, whoever wants to speak, for 2 or 3 minutes. I will not cut anybody off. People can speak as long as they want, but once you speak, that will be it. You will not have an opportunity to speak a second time. I just hope I'm making that clear. The only one that will be able to speak a second time is the lead sponsor. Let me start with Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just so that I'm clear, because I do remember there was a resolution that was brought here probably a few months or maybe even a year or so ago, with one of our colleagues brought Cuba into the chamber, and we were advised that we should be focusing on city business. So that was, I believe, came from my colleague. So I just want to be clear about setting the stage and being consistent with the things that we are bringing into the chamber, number one. And number two, I think when it calls for things such as this, I believe that there's an opportunity for us to consider pulling this into a committee so that we can unpack it further, very similar to the treatment that we provided to the conversation around Cuba. So I am going to ask my colleague to consider putting this into committee and a public hearing so that we can have an informed conversation here alongside the rest of the council that so happens to be absent today. So in the spirit of making sure that all voices are heard, I am going to ask through the chair to my colleague if we could consider putting this into committee for a public hearing and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes Councilor Baker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As someone that has a young daughter at home, the photos of the music fest, the men coming in on the whatever they were coming in on with long guns, prepared to shoot and kill people, maim people, kill the men, take the women. We heard what they're doing with the women. So even if this goes to committee, well, it is going to committee, public hearing, I'm standing to say that we need to condemn what Hamas did there, not the Palestinian people, Hamas. What Hamas did to citizens of the world. There's Americans over there. If we don't think that we're going to somehow, we're already involved in this. This is bad stuff. But again, I stand in support of the Israeli people, the Jewish people. And we need to condemn Hamas. We need to call it what it was. It was a terrorist attack. That looked like Crystal Night to me. So I don't need a public hearing. I don't need anything else. I stand with Israel here today. So thank you, Mr. President. And standing with Israel is not against the Palestinian people, but it is against Hamas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Council President Flynn. And just a point of order, so if one councilor objects to voting today, it has to be sent to committee, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through my remarks, and then I plan on objecting to voting on this today.
So are you objecting to the resolution, or are you objecting to us voting on it today?
Us voting on it today, and thank you for the clarification. If I could just have say my remarks to give some context about it, because I do think that this is a very complex issue. I think we can all agree, the Boston City Council. We do speak on geopolitical matters, but this is so deeply entrenched and there's so many emotions. I'm definitely feeling it today. There's police outside of the building today. We all feel this. And while I'm not personally affected by it, I know many that are. And to put support in one resolution, I don't think it speaks to the complexities of the history here, but it is an opportunity for us to stand up as leaders of this city and to show that there's an ability for nuanced conversation. And there is mutual understanding, restorative justice here. And if I could just go through my remarks, Council President Flynn.
Yeah, you will be able to. But I just want to be clear. Are you asking us not to have the debate and to put it into committee now? Is that what you're asking? Or are you asking us to have the debate and then voting on it after?
I mean, that's up to your discretion, Council President
But
Flynn.
you're
I'm
not
just letting my
But are you objecting to us having this debate today?
No, I'm not objecting
Okay.
to having the debate. Or if anybody wants, obviously. I'm speaking on it, and so.
No, Councilor Mejia, I haven't recognized you. Councilor Coletta?
So I'm not objecting to any
Okay.
debate. I'm just hoping to provide some clarity to my request.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Okay. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta.
Thank you so much. I want to be clear here. I reject terrorism in all forms, innocent loss of life, and violence. What we seen last Saturday morning in Israel was terrorism at the hands of Hamas. I recognize the pain Israel is enduring following this, and in that sense, support grieving and traumatized family during this difficult time. I also recognize that what has transpired since has caused immeasurable pain and suffering of Palestinians who have no connection to Hamas. We should condemn this also. Violence begets violence. Peace is the only battle worth waging. I condemn terrorism, and on a human level, I can't condone additional violence and suffering. And so I think with that clarity, I do think that this is, again, a very nuanced conversation. And so with that being said, I'm objecting to the vote today and hoping that it go to committee. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Coletta made an objection, made a recommendation to place this in committee and not to go forward, basically, on this discussion. All it takes is one person to make that formal.
Yeah.
Councilor Mejia, Councilor Coletta still had the floor. I will call on you in a second, Councilor Mejia. So Councilor Coletta, you made a recommendation asking that this go to committee, and it would go to the committee on the whole. All it takes is one person to do that, which you did formally, and now it will be placed in the committee of the whole, and at some point we will have a formal hearing on it. In the meantime, there is no more discussion on this topic.
Oh.
Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1573? Yeah. Docket 1593 is in the committee of the whole. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1573?
Docket number 1573, message in order for your approval, an order that will amend Chapter 6, Section 6-11, the Gender Inclusion Ordinance to incorporate best practices regarding gender identity inclusion, filed in the office of the city clerk on October 16, 2023.
Thank you. This docket 1573 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1574?
Docket number 1574, message in order for your approval, an order authorizing the city of Boston to appropriate the amount of $17,165,000 for the purpose of paying the costs associated with boiler, roof, windows and doors replacement projects at the following schools: the Jeremiah E. Burke High School, the English High School, Dennis C. Haley Pilot School, and the Dr. William W. Henderson Inclusion Upper School. The City of Boston has applied for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, also known as MSBA.
Thank you. This docket will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1575? The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
So I just want to confirm and maybe clarify. So my move to object did not have to stop discussion. Is that correct?
Yes, it would just stop discussion.
Okay.
It would stop the debate.
Okay. So
You
can I have-
formally made the request, Councilor Coletta.
Okay, I would like to move to divide the question.
Councilor
Suspension and
Coletta,
passage.
what-
So I just want to be clear. I did not mean to stop discussion on it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you continue, please?
Docket number 1575, message in order authorizing.
Okay, if you make a point of order, can people please hit the button? The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
Mr. President, I just see that, when a woman stands up, you correct them on speaking out of turn. When a man stands up and talks out of turn while they're sitting down, you don't do that. Can we please not do that to my colleague? That's not part of the rules, right? That's the point of order. Stop talking, Flaherty. I'm on the mic. He's out of order. See, he's talking.
Excuse me, Councilor
talking.
Flaherty. Only one person is going to speak at the time. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
So the question is, is it part of the rules to correct the women and not the men?
That's not part of the rules.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Okay.
The chair recognizes Councilor Flaherty. Councilor Flaherty, you have the floor.
We're just looking forward to 1575.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you please continue?
Docket number 1575, message in order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $142,079 in the form of a grant for the fiscal year 23, reducing inquiry and death of missing individuals with dementia and developmental disability, awarded by the United States Department of Justice, to be administered by the Police Department. The grant will fund the purchase of safety net tracking subscriptions for 275 families of individuals who have a tendency to wander due to dementia or developmental disabilities.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Flaherty, the chair of the Committee on Public Safety, Criminal Justice. Councilor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moving for suspension and passage of docket 1575. Grant speaks for itself. It'll fund the purchase of safety net tracking subscriptions for 275 families of individuals who have a tendency to wander due to dementia or developmental disabilities. We all know people, have family friends that are affected. This here will obviously give the safety net the opportunity to work closely with those families and when it happens in short order, return them to their loved ones and or to their assisted living or whatever healthcare facility they currently reside. So looking forward to this body for suspension and passage. Funds are very needed and they're actually awaiting them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty. Councilor Flaherty seeks suspension of the rules, passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1576?
Docket number 1576, message in order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $18,480 in the form of a grant awarded by Catholic Charities, Archdiocese of Boston, to be administered by the Department of Innovation and Technology. The grant will fund the fellowship program for El Centro IT training program graduates.
The Councilor Worrell is not present. This docket will be referred to committee. 1576. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1577?
Committee.
Yeah, okay. That docket 1576 will be referred to the Committee on City Services. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1577?
Docket number 1577, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend a donation from Northeastern University and its student authors in the form of a license to print and distribute a book titled Make to Play DIY Developmental Toys for Your Child's First 3 Years for the purpose of supporting the Mayor's Office of Early Childhood's Family Engagement Program.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Councilor Braden, the Chair of the Committee on Strong Women, Families, Communities. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm actually very excited about this Make to Play do-it-yourself developmental toys for your child's first 3 years. Having worked in early education with children with disabilities, it's a wonderful project, and I ask that we suspend and pass to accept this donation.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden seeks suspension of the rules. Passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1578 to 1581?
Docket number 1578, message and order for your approval in order to reduce fiscal year 24 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $145,545 to provide funding for the Boston Public Schools for fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the Boston Public Schools and the Boston School Department Plant Administrators Association, filed in the office of the City Clerk on October 16, 2023. Docket number 1579, message in order for a supplemental appropriation order for the Boston School Department for fiscal year 24 in the amount of $145,545 to cover the fiscal year 24 costs contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the Boston Public Schools and the Boston School Department Plant Administrators Association. The terms of the contract are September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2026. The major provisions of the contract include base wage increases of 2%, 2.5%, 2.5%, 2.5%, 2%, and 2% to be given in September of each fiscal year of the contract terms. The agreement also includes increases to on-call pay and comp time policies. Docket number 1580, message in order for your approval in order to reduce the fiscal 24 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $60,329 to provide funding for the Boston Police Department for the fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Boston Police Cadets Association, filed in the office of the City Clerk on October 16, 2023. In docket number 1581, message in order for a supplemental appropriation for the Boston Police Department for fiscal year 24 in the amount of $60,329 to cover the fiscal year 24 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Boston and the Boston Cadets Association. The terms of the contracts are October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2023. The major provisions of the contract include base wage increases of 2%, 1.5%, and 2% to be given in January of each fiscal year of the contract term.
Thank you. These dockets, 1578 to 1581, will be referred to the Committee on City Services, Innovation, Technology. We're going on to reports of public officers and others. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1582 to 1585, please?
Docket number 1582, notice was received from the City Clerk in accordance with Chapter 6 of the Ordinances of 1979 relative to action taken by the Mayor on papers acted upon by the City Council at its meeting of August 30th, 2023. Docket number 1583, Notice was received from the city clerk in accordance with Chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979, relative to action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting of June 7, 2023. Docket number 1584. Notice was received from the city clerk in accordance with Chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979, relative to action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting of April 12, 2023. Docket number 1585, notice was received from the city clerk in accordance with Chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979, relative to action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting of October 4th, 2023.
Thank you. These dockets 1582 to 1585, they'll be placed on file. Mr. Clerk, we're on to docket 1586.
Docket number 1586, communication was received from the city clerk, transmitting a communication from the Boston Landmarks Commission for city council action on the designation of the Nazaro Community Center, 30-32 North Bennett Street, Boston, Mass, as a landmark in effect after November 5th, 2023, if not acted upon.
Thank you. This docket 1586 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Transportation, Development. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1587 to 1589?
Docket number 1587, communication was received from Nicholas Arianello, Assessing Commissioner, of the appointment of Joseph O'Malley as an Assistant Assessor. Docket number 1588, communication was received from Trinity Financial regarding 150 Center Street at Shawmut Station, 121A application of Trinity Shawmut Limited Partnership for authorization and approval of a project under Mass General Laws, Chapter 121A. And docket number 1589, communication was received from Timothy Smith, Executive Officer of the Boston Retirement Board, relative to results of the election. Karen T. Cross and Michael D. O'Reilly were elected to serve as trustees of the Boston Retirement Board for a 3-year term.
Thank you. These dockets 1587 to 1589, they'll be placed on file. We're on to reports of committees. Mr. Clerk, will you please read docket 1480 to 1487?
Docket number 1480, the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023, docket number 1480. Message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Christopher Hart as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Submits a report recommending the reappointment ought to be confirmed. Docket number 1481, the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023, docket number 1481. Message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Jeffrey Gagnon as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Submits a report recommending that the reappointment ought to be confirmed. Docket number 1482, the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023, docket 1482. Message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Jeffrey Hine as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Submits a report recommending the appointment ought to be confirmed. Docket number 1483, the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023. Docket number 1483, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of John Freeman as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Submits a report recommending the reappointment ought to be confirmed. Docket number 1484, the Committee on Planning and Development and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023. Docket number 1484, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Bradford Walker as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Submits a report recommending the reappointment ought to be confirmed. Docket number 1485, the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023. Docket number 1485, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Lynn Smilage as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Submits a report recommending the reappointment ought to be confirmed. Docket number 1486. The Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023, docket number 1486. Message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Felicia Jacques as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Submits a report recommending that the reappointment ought to be confirmed. In docket number 1487, the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, to which was referred on September 20th, 2023, docket number 1487. Message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Angela Ward Hyatt as a member of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Submits a report recommending the reappointment ought to be confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation. Councilor Baker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to speak on all these broadly, and then we'll vote on them individually.
Yes.
Thank you. These matters were, so we met with the reappointments and the appointments, and all of the resumes are attached in case anybody wants to look at them. These matters were sponsored by the mayor and referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation on September 20th, 2023. And the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation held a public hearing in the Ionella Chamber on October 12th, 2023 to take testimony and consider the same. Councilors present were myself, Council President Flynn, thank you, and Councilor Fernandez and Anderson. We also read 2 letters of support into the record from Councilor Braden and from Councilor Louis Jean. And one of the reasons why we have confirmation power is to bring these boards in here and to talk to them about what they do, what their charges are, what makes them tick. And we were able to do that because one of the discussions that we got on that was over and above the appointments was the landmarking of this building we sit in right here. It was a very good discussion. Thank you guys for being there. Bradford Walker, who's the chair of the Landmarks Commission, made a presentation on the mission, composition, functions, and jurisdiction of the Boston Landmarks Commission, and the City Council's Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation reviewed all the resumes and credentials of all the appointments, and they're all attached. The appointees responded to questions from the chair and other councils regarding their qualifications, relevant experience, background, areas of expertise, and on the independence, rationale, and criteria that they would exercise when making decisions. All the appointees are experienced, dedicated, and quality individuals. And based on the testimony and documentation presented at the hearing and having considered the same, I respectfully recommend that these appointments and reappointments ought to be confirmed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Transportation, Development, and Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report, confirmation of docket 1480. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report, confirmation of docket 1481. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report and confirmation of docket 1482. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report, confirmation of docket 1483. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report, confirmation of docket 1484. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of this docket 1485. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report, confirmation of docket 1486. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Councilor Baker, the chair of the Committee on Planning, Development, Transportation, seeks acceptance of the committee report and confirmation of docket 1487. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been confirmed. Before we go on to matters recently heard for possible action, I do want to encourage my colleagues once again to please come to the committee hearings. Having 3 councilors at a committee hearing is unacceptable. We need to do a better job. People need to show up. It's not just about coming here on Wednesday. Matters recently heard for possible action. Docket 1373 is remaining in committee due to Councilor Arroyo's absence. Mr. Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. We're on to motions, orders, and resolutions. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1590?
That's going to be withdrawn.
Okay. Docket 1590 is withdrawn at this time.
Mr. Clerk, could you please read docket 1591?
Docket number 1591, Councilor Flynn offered the following. Resolution designating a hero square at the intersection of Beach Street and Hudson Street in Chinatown in recognition of Wing O Hong.
The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Braden. This is a resolution for the designation of a hero square in Chinatown near the Chinatown Gate for U.S. Army Private Wing Hom. Wing Hom was born January 1924 and resided in Boston. U.S. Army Private Hom enlisted in the Army in Boston and served in World War II. And in February of 1944, Hom was assigned to B Company, 7th Infantry. On February 2nd, 1944, Hom went missing while his unit was engaged in a defensive fighting against the German forces in Italy. After his body was not recovered and he wasn't reported as a prisoner of war, the U.S. War Department declared Hom dead on February 3rd, 1944. In 1946, a set of remains were found 3 miles west of where he was last seen. Unable to positively identify the remains, they were interned in the Sicily Rome American Cemetery. In September 2021, the remains at this Sicily Rome American Cemetery were disinterred and sent to the U.S. Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency Laboratory in Nebraska. The remains were formally identified on April 6, 2023 as private homes. After 79 years of war, death, unmarked burial on foreign soil, the remains of Private Wing O Hom were laid to rest in Brooklyn on October 11, 2023. And he was posthumously awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. And I know my friend and colleague, Commissioner Santiago, has done terrific work in working with Private Hom's family and actually represented the city of Boston recently in New York. So I want to say thank you to the City of Boston Veterans Commissioner. So we hope that we can designate a hero square in Boston's Chinatown where Hom spent time so that we can honor the heroic service and tremendous sacrifice endured by U.S. Army Private Wing O Hom on behalf of the American people. I hope we can suspend and adopt this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Would anyone else like to add like to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Councillor Baker, Councillor Durkin, Councillor Coletta, Councillor Fernandez-Anderson, Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Mejia, Councillor Murphy, and could you please add my name? Councillor Flynn seeks suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 1591. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. Maybe I just want to add, imagine being in World War II, you're Asian American. You might be an immigrant. You fought for our country, you died for your country, and you're still not treated with respect and dignity because of the color of your skin or your ethnicity. But you're willing to lay your body down on behalf of the American people. But your family is still subjected to hate crimes. We're on to docket 1592, Mr. Clerk.
Docket number 1592, Councilor Durkin offer the following. Resolution supporting the Boston Transportation Department's efforts to transform New Elderly Road into a pedestrian plaza.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor Durkin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. I would like to add Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson to this resolution as an original co-sponsor.
Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson is added. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin.
Although this proposed pedestrian improvement is currently in a District 8 precinct, the precinct was drawn as part of District 7 in the new map. So I'm grateful to the collaboration with Councilor Fernandez-Anderson on this as outgoing and incoming councilors for this precinct working in partnership. New Edgerly Road is a small, redundant slip lane in the East Fenway that hosts high volume of pedestrian traffic compared to car traffic. The Fenway Civic Association has long advocated for slow streets safety measures in the neighborhood, and one such advocacy effort has centered around the pedestrianization of New Edgerly Road. I'm grateful to my predecessor, Kenzie Bach, and her staff who, in coordination with neighborhood organizations like the Fenway Civic Association, Fenway Community Development Corporation, and Fenway Community Center, organized 3 successful pedestrian pilots of New Edgerly Road, which saw streets activated with musical performances, art installations, food, and games for hundreds to enjoy. This past summer, the District 8 office, led by my current Chief of Staff, Kennedy Avery, engaged with residents of the Fenway on several occasions to gather public feedback on the pedestrianization of New Edgerly Road. Through these efforts, the office collected over 100 letters in support of this proposal. This on top of previous surveys outlining majority support for permanent pedestrianization of the space. This public support overlaps with the city's transportation goals, particularly related to the new Safety Surge initiative and our continued Vision Zero goals. On that note, I would like to shout out the Boston Transportation Department and in particular Chief Yasha Franklin Hodge and Jacob Wessel for their ongoing work to create spaces that prioritize pedestrian safety and community connection. The efforts of the community and the Boston Transportation Department together with the District Council office and offices now means that not just preventing crashes and pedestrian injuries, but also a way for pedestrian placemaking to serve as a vital component of our transportation infrastructure and an opportunity to foster community. The idea to transform this roadway from street space to a gathering space seems like such a natural one for anyone who has spent time outside the East Fenway Whole Foods and witnessed this area as a central connecting point for community. In fact, one of my first engagements as a newly elected councilor in the Fenway was attending Fenway Connects, which closed down New Edgerly Road for the afternoon and brought out neighbors of all ages for games, art, food, and community. The permanent pedestrianization of New Edgerly Road is widely supported by residents in the East Fenway, expressly requested by neighborhood civic associations, and perfectly aligned with the city's transportation goals. I'm so grateful to stand with my colleague, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, in pursuing this opportunity for the Fenway, and I urge my colleagues to, this is just a resolution in support of this, and there is already a page up on the Boston Transportation Department's website outlining this proposal, and I hope you guys will take a read of some of the stuff in my resolution, which is outlined, and I hope that you'll join me today in supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. Thank you so much to my council colleague, lead sponsor on this. Fenway is a beautiful community and deserve to improve its quality of life. I personally appreciate that the constituents there now will be adopting part of this area as of January, so I'm looking forward to convening there and enjoying some public space activities, activating it, and as my colleague so eloquently outlined, in terms of bike racks or gaming or just activating space and art, it's a beautiful opportunity, again, to have spaces to improve our quality of life while we are creating climate resiliency spaces. And of course, I will continue to work with my colleague, Councilor Durkin, to hopefully see more efforts such as this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Would anyone else like to speak in this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please raise your hand. Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Baker, Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Durkin seeks suspension of the rules and adoption of this docket. Councilor Durkin and Councilor Fernandez-Anderson seek suspension of the rules and adoption of this docket 1592. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been adopted. Docket 1594 is being withdrawn. We're on to personnel orders, Mr. Clerk.
Docket number 1595, Councilor Flynn for Councilor Lara.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1596.
Docket number 1596, Councilor Flynn for Councilor Lara.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1597.
Docket number 1597, Councilor Flynn for Councilor
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1598.
Docket number 1598, Councilor Flynn for Councilor
The
Fernandez-Anderson.
chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1599.
Docket number 1599, Councilor Flynn for Councilor
The
Flaherty.
chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1600.
Docket number 1600, Councilor Flynn for Councilor
The
Flaherty.
chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed. We're on to late files. I have been informed by the clerk that there are 5 late file matters.
4.
Okay. Of the 5, 4 are letters of absence and 1 resolution. Before we vote on officially adding these to the agenda, I want to make sure everybody has the letters of absence on their desk and the resolution. I'll take a minute just to confirm. Okay. We will now take a vote to add these late file matters into the agenda. All those in favor of adding these late file matters into the agenda, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. These late file matters are added. Mr. Clerk, let's start with the letters of absence, please.
First letter of absence, dear President Flynn and council colleagues. I regret to inform you that I will not be able to attend today's city council meeting. My staff will be in attendance and I will review the tape of the meeting when it becomes available. Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Absence letter from Councilor Arroyo. Dear Council President Flynn, please be advised that I have tested positive for COVID and I will not be in attendance at the Boston City Council meeting on Wednesday, October 18, 2023. My staff will be attending the meeting. I will thoroughly review the video and meeting minutes. Please ask that the city clerk read this matter into the public record. Sincerely, Councilor Arroyo. Absence letter from Councilor Lara. Dear Council President Flynn, I am regretfully unable to attend today's council meeting due to a family obligation. A member of my staff will be present to take notes and will report to me as needed. I look forward to reviewing the recordings of the meeting. Sincerely, Councilor Lara. An absence letter from Councilor Lujan. Dear President Flynn, I regret to inform you that I'll be unable to attend the weekly Wednesday council meeting on October 18, 2023, due to unforeseen circumstances. My staff will be attending, and I will thoroughly review the video and hearing minutes. Should you or any member of the public have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to my office. Sincerely, Councilor Lujan.
You're on to the resolution? Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Resolution offered by City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. Resolution calling for an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine. Whereas all human beings have a right to life, freedom, and dignity, and the targeting of civilians of any faith or ethnicity is an unacceptable violation of the international humanitarian law. And be it resolved that the City Council calls on an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine, as well as lifting of the siege to allow food, water, fuel, electricity, and other humanitarian supplies into Gaza.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Before I recognize Councilor Fernandez Anderson, I do want to let all of my colleagues speak for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not going to cut anybody off. And the last person that will speak on the matter will be Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. No second speeches from anybody, including myself. The chair recognizes Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to acknowledge that I am clear and I'm of the opinion that you're not a sexist person, but it does seem that way, and not to you, but it was just a way to clarify so that my colleague can feel supported, because it just felt like everyone was talking over her. So I hope that's clear that I was trying to make a point. And we're human, and sometimes we falter. I respect you. I rise today in the spirit of my Polish grandmother, paternal grandmother. So I say shalom to all of you that's watching. To my brothers and sisters, my Christian brothers and sisters, peace be unto you all, because I'm quite sure there's a lot of people watching. And there's a media here. I'm glad they're on the side that's on my good side. And to my Muslim brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And so today I would like to read it onto record so that there is no confusion about what this document is asking for. And before that, I'm sorry, I apologize before I forget. Councilor, may I add Councilor Julia Mejia as a co-sponsor, please?
Councilor Mejia is added. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The resolution calling for an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine. Whereas all human beings have a right to life, freedom, and dignity, and the targeting of civilians of any faith or ethnicity is an unacceptable violation of international humanitarian law and whereas international human rights groups have recognized Israel's policies and actions toward the Palestinian people as apartheid, which goes against international law. And on October 7, 2023, Hamas, a Palestinian militant group, launched a massive military operation killing more than 1,400 people, the vast majority of which were civilians and more than 120 soldiers. And dozens of Israeli hostages were also taken into Gaza Strip. And in response to this attack, Israel has conducted an intense bombardment of Gaza, killing more than 3,500 Palestinians as of Tuesday, October 17th, including more than 1,000 children and destroying over 1 million homes. And Israel has cut electricity, food, fuel, and water sources from Gaza, all of which constitute war crimes. And additionally, Israel ordered 1.1 million residents of the northern half of the Gaza Strip to leave their homes, an act the United Nations reference to as crime against humanity and a blatant violation of international law. And hundreds of thousands of lives are in imminent danger due to these compounding humanitarian crises and violence in the region. Therefore, be it that the Boston City Council calls on an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine, as well as a lifting of the siege to allow food, water, fuel, electricity, and other humanitarian supplies into Gaza. And be it further resolved that the Boston City Council endorses and propose ceasefire now resolution in Congress led by Representatives Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, Andre Carson, Summer Lee, and Delia C. Ramirez, and co-sponsored by Representative Ayanna Pressley, Jamal Bowman, Bonnie Watson Coleman, Jesus Chuy Garcia, Jonathan Jackson, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Nydia Velasquez. And be it further that the Boston City Council calls for a political solution guaranteeing freedom, equality, and democratic representation for all in Palestine and Israel, the only way to secure a just and lasting peace. I think the resolution is pretty clear, and I understand that I did not give historical context as to the apartheid state or occupied Palestine. I did not go back to 1948. I will not talk about UK and how they colonized Palestine. I'm not going to keep going on and reiterating. I'm not going to say all lives matter. I'm not going to explain how human I am and how much I love my people and my colleagues. I'm not going to say that as a Black woman, I love my white colleagues here. I don't have to keep explaining. And I don't have to tell you that the Aborigines in Australia belong there and this is their land and Australia is wrong. I don't want to have to talk about all of these international issues. We should be focusing on Boston. However, this is a humanitarian crisis. This needs to happen now. They need to cease fire now. Everywhere on the internet, you've all seen what's happening. We all agree that children should not be tortured and killed and massacred. We all agree that this is a violation. We all agree that they should have food. Do you agree that they should have water? Do you agree that civilians should have electricity? Do you agree that they should be in their homes safely, or that they should get at least safe passage to go to another part of the country or maybe into another country? Do you agree that civilians should not be killed innocently this way? So I'll allow my colleagues to make comments if they have any, and I, of course, will have a response to that. I'll comment afterwards. I hope that today you will suspend and pass and agree that we need to cease fire, irrespective of what side you're on. Any terrorism is bad. Killing civilians, again, of any ethnicity or any background is bad. If you are killing children, no matter what race you are, no matter what religion you are not praying to any God. It doesn't matter if you are Israeli, it doesn't matter if you are Palestinian. If you are killing innocent children, you are not praying to any God. So I'll stop there because I know that this is a difficult thing. I know that people sometimes file things in this chamber either to hurt colleagues or to make a certain statement, and it's pretentious and it's horrible because some of us have to still come here and do a job. And so if you're going to stand up to say, let's stop killing people, sure, but you bring in an international issue in this chamber when you say we should be focusing on Boston, and we are all on the same page. So I don't understand the point of some of my colleagues coming here and bringing an issue and hypocritically asking us to take a position and forcing some colleagues, and they're playing these political games because you know it's campaign season. It's horrible. People are dying. Let's just focus on the good that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Could I ask that there are no applause in the audience? The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you. I don't remember the movie all that well, but I know it's called Courage Under Fire. And I think that sometimes when we walk into this chamber, we either walk with it or leave it at the door. And I think I am very adamant about my role as a leader here, and sometimes I make difficult decisions and I just have to live with those. And speaking up when other people refuse to or can't is okay, because we don't want to push people. And so I have learned a lot in the last year, more so than anything else, about how people play politics with people's lives. And I think we have an opportunity here to really reflect on who we are and how we show up. And I'm doing that work myself. And so I just want to thank Councilor Anderson for adding me as a co-sponsor here. I actually lived in New York during 9/11, and that was my first aha moment around international affairs and how we as Americans can either cause further harm or turn down the temperature. And I think I have seen us show up in ways that just cause further harm, and I don't want to engage in that type of politics. It doesn't do anyone any good. And I do appreciate the idea of standing in solidarity with other countries, and I think that is important to do. I feel more drawn to this particular resolution because it's really about peace and really trying to help create a different dialogue, one that is not divisive, which is what I feel we do really well here in America, is continue to pit people against each other, and I don't want to play that game anymore. So I just wanted to stand and thank my colleague for having the courage to stand alongside our friends on the federal level, many of which are people of color. And it seems like, this is the sort of work that this moment calls for, and I'm hoping that in standing in solidarity with calling for de-escalation and ceasefire, it is a pathway towards what we all hope we can do, is bring real peace in the Middle East. And I know that sounds a bit cliche, but I think that's what we need to do. I was recently notified that my college professor passed away. I just found out. She was Jewish. She was the first Jewish person that I met, because I didn't even know, even though I went to high school, I really didn't know much about the Jewish life. And so I just want to speak her name into the chamber. Ina Ames. She taught me so much about myself as a Dominican immigrant and shared her stories. And so there's a lot of humanity that we are not looking into, and every day we show up here and we forget who we are. And not just politicians, just everyone. And I think that we all just need to pause a little bit, breathe a little bit more, and look at people and say, I see you, even though I may not agree with you or I may not even love you, but we have a responsibility to be different. And our kids are watching us, and they're paying attention, and if we don't do things differently, we're going to end up repeating history. And I don't think that we're going down the right path in this world. And so I am encouraging people to be a little bit more compassionate with others. And thank you, Councilor Anderson, again, and I'm looking for my colleagues to support a ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor Durkin, you have the floor.
This issue is very personal to both the District 8 Council as a representative of this office. I had the chance to speak with former councilors Josh Sakam and former councilor Mike Ross last night and this morning when it hit the news that we would be taking on this extremely difficult and complicated issue. I think for me, as a progressive, I think it's really important that we look to not just what our colleagues are saying about this topic, but also what our constituents and the people that we care about are saying about the region. So I want to read from a letter, or I want to read from a guest essay in the New York Times. Rachel Timmener is a senior rabbi in Brooklyn, and Mike Ross sent me this. I think I've been getting a lot of outreach from constituents about the fear of the rise of anti-Semitism after the attacks. So I wanted to read this. I said to my congregant, and I plead to all my fellow Jews, please, please do not take the mezuzah off your door. Do not stop assembling in your synagogues to be together. Please do not take off your star from around your neck. Please don't stop living as proud Jews. Please don't stop standing as steadfast supporters of our Israeli family, who feel more alone in the world now than ever. Please do not stop calling for the return of the hostages. Please don't stop giving aid funds. Please do not stop calling Israeli friends and family here and there. Please do not stop doing all the Jewish things you do. Every one of them, every Jewish thing you do matters. My grandfather lived under Francisco Franco in Spain and was a converso. He converted from being a Spanish Jew to being a Catholic because of persecution. And so I just want to be very clear in my statement that a lot of people are feeling really alone right now, and they're feeling like the outreach I got when it hit the news that we would be taking on the issue of terrorism and in Israel and what's happening. I want to be very clear that that this is very personal to me. And I want to read another excerpt of this. We are all temporary dwellers of where we live. The Torah teaches us that land does not belong to people. It belongs to God, to the earth, or both, depending on your perspective. The land needs to be shared. That has not changed. Both people have a legitimate claim and a real history to the land. Both people deserve safety, freedom, and self-determination and peace. That has not changed. Any agenda that promotes a future, past, present where one people rules over another is inhumane and immoral. Any agenda that promotes a future for just one people on the land, either Palestinian or Israeli, is inhumane and immoral. Right now, the left is using an outdated, ill-fitting model of colonialism to explain what's happening in Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank. It borrows from anti-Semitic tropes, leading to a cruel and dehumanizing view of Israelis and Jews. Colonizers do not have thousands of years of history in the land that they colonize, as Jews do in Israel. And colonizers do not have a home country that they can be decolonized to. For those who callously call October 7th a step towards decolonization, I ask them to consider, where are the Jews who fled from Iraq supposed to go, and who fled from Iran, and those from Yemen, and those from Russia, and those from Ethiopia? And how about the Jews who came from Europe after surviving the Holocaust? They were depossessed of their land, their homes, their belongings, just as their ancestors were depossessed by Romans in the first 2 centuries of the Common Era by the Babylonians before them. But that's not to say that deaths across the Middle East are not completely, I mean, it's jarring, it rips me to shreds thinking about this, but today I'm going to oppose a vote on this because I don't believe that this is something, if we pulled the other resolution, I don't believe that we should vote on this one today either. Thank you.
Just in the interest of following up, Councilor Durkin, are you saying you want this conversation to stop and we will not vote on it? Or
Yes.
you want the conversation to stop and it'll be placed into a committee? You object to the suspension of the passage. Do you object to the suspension and passage?
Yes.
So it'll be referred to committee. This docket will be referred to committee of the whole. Councilor Baker, very briefly.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, first, a question through you to the maker. Is this modeled after congressional resolution, or are there changes in there?
Let me
I know all
conversations will come to me.
Yeah. So through you, Mr. President, question to the maker: is this fashioned after the congressional resolution? Is this the same thing? Changes or?
Thank you, Councilor Baker. I'm going to give Councilor Fernandez-Anderson the opportunity to respond, and I'm not going to entertain any other questions or comments after Councilor Fernandez-Anderson speaks.
I can't speak after that?
Nope. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson?
Would you like to retract your question and just make a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to retract.
Okay.
the question
Okay.
then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Baker, are you still speaking?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. So I don't think that we should necessarily block this and not take a vote on it, but we did it with the last one, so that, I guess, provides parity. The problem I have with this, and everybody wants a ceasefire. Nobody wants to see more people get killed on either side, you know? But this resolution is flawed. For one, in whereas number 3, a Palestinian militant group, it's a terrorist group, launched a massive military operation. It was a terrorist operation. They dragged people out of their houses. They killed people that were in a concert. It's not a massive military operation. So just that wording there has me not voting for it. I'm at a loss of words right now, Mr. President.
I understand.
You know, to look at October 7th and even say, like, well, Israel's doing, like, we call for a ceasefire now without language in here saying ceasefire when the 200 individuals that are from around the world, those little girls there that were at that rock concert that were having a fun time, that are being raped now. Let's return them, and then we'll talk about a ceasefire. So thank you for allowing me to speak. I will be voting no on this one, and like I said in the last one, I was voting yes on that one because I think the people of Israel have every right, every God-given right to protect themselves. And I would say nothing else. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. So it's going to go to the committee in the whole. I do want to be fair and give Councilor Fernandez-Anderson the final say. I do wish we would have voted on each of these, up and down on both resolutions. We chose not to do that. We had somewhat of a discussion, but not all of us had the opportunity to speak, and we chose not to vote on it. That's what we decided. But having said that, the chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to say, you know, we're not perfect. If people are terrorists, they're terrorists, right? So, again, if you're killing innocent children, in my eyes, you're a terrorist. So I said that, and I'll say it again. If you're killing innocent children, I don't care what ethnicity you are, what religion you are, no matter what, you're a terrorist. You're a horrible person. And I think that I'm not opposed to, you know, making the language more accurate so that we're saying that exactly. If you are killing innocent children, you're a terrorist. I'm not opposed to that. What I would say is that in Islam we have a saying that, you know, you're not born with bravery. It's something, you're either born a coward or you're born brave. And so we don't judge cowards. If people, we don't say, I'm not gonna say that people, if they're saying, I have to take a certain side because I have to defend the other people. I would say that myself as a black woman, I've been living 44 years of fear of anti-blackness. Myself as a Muslim, anti-Semite, because Arabs are Semites. So anti-Semitism applies totally to Arabs. I don't get it. And it applies to the original Jews, the black people in Ethiopia. And so anti-sentiment applies to indigenous people in America. Anti-Italians, that once happened. Anti-the Irish, that happened. Anti-women, that happened. And it just seems like this war, in particularly, is definitely anti-children. So, yeah, I'm not opposed to changing that language. This is such an emotional, a complex, a horrible thing to talk about that everyone is either afraid because they think that certain groups have power and they're going to be attacked or even killed, or, for example, pictures of students being put on buses and dragged around in Harvard. People are afraid, and I don't judge you. I'm okay every single time if my colleagues get up and make a statement and I find it to be that they're less than brave. I won't judge you. I don't respect it, but I don't judge you. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm standing up because I said to you a long time ago, to Councilor Baker, that right is right, wrong is wrong, and that we were going to try as much as possible to focus on our moral compass and do the right thing. I'm an African woman who converted to Islam, and I care about all people. For some reason, as a black woman, the African Holocaust in America, 11 million people, doesn't matter. Nobody talks about that. No one gets up and talks about how 11 million people died. No one here gets up and says, oh my God, 3,000 and 1,000 Palestinian children. People don't get up and typically talk about that. It's only on the table because it's political, it's on the news, and people feel the pressure to talk about it. No one here, or at least one or two with me, exception, to my colleague, Councilor Mejia, and sometimes some colleagues, but no one here gets up and talks about, let's talk about how America took this land from the indigenous people and massacred and eradicated 100 million people. Nobody here talks about how Mexicans originally belonged in this country, and if they come back, it's okay. And nobody here is talking about how the racism that people have to experience and how you freaking monetize black bodies in this country. Nobody in here, I don't expect any of these people to stand up and support something like this. It's controversial. It's hard. And not everybody is born with bravery. So I'm not judging you. If the words are not perfect, we can talk about it. My council colleague Sharon Durkin already stood up and said she's objecting. She's not going to vote, and so...
Council Fernandez-Sanders, can you direct all comments towards me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My Council President Flynn, Councilor Sharon Durkin said...
Please don't mention anyone's name. I just don't want this to be taken...
Council President Flynn, you
the
can't
chair
ask me to do
The
that.
chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson.
Thank you.
We are not calling out colleagues by name.
Thank you, Council President Flynn, but
Thank you.
you're not allowed to do that.
But the rules do say, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, that you are not to use people's names during a debate. I'm just respectfully asking you, I don't want this to get out of hand, but if you could direct all comments to the chair.
Well, here, in front of people, you guys know who objected and said they're not going to vote for it, and they're going to send it to committee. Is that better?
That's perfect, Councilor
Thank you.
Fernandez-Anderson.
So it's going to go to committee. That's no problem. It's a difficult conversation. Again, nobody gives a crap about black people and anti-black and anti-slavery. Nobody talks about that, even though it was 11 million people, transatlantic slave trade. It was 100 million Native Americans, 100 million in Australia. Nobody talks about that. But we focus on, when we get to this, we're like, oh no, like nobody wants people to die. The Holocaust was horrific. The African Holocaust was horrific. The Australian Holocaust on the Aborigines was horrific. But when we start talking, we only talk about people with money and influence. We never talk about black people. We never talk about people suffering. We never talk about brown people. So if you're Indian, if you're Palestinian, nobody gets up and supports any of this stuff. And so let's not do this political thing. You've never stood up for anything else. You've never fought for anything else. We've been here in this country in 2023. I don't see you I get up and talk about racial equity, and people get uncomfortable and check their jacket. They start fidgeting. You can see it in this room. You get uncomfortable when I say, as a black woman, and you say, oh my God, here goes that word. Oh, everybody, brace yourself. We're talking about blackness. That's what people here do. I'm not oblivious. When we get to an issue, right is right, wrong is wrong. Fine, we'll change the language. Everybody who kills children is a terrorist. I'm with you. Everybody who kills innocent civilians, horrible, and should be condemned. We should cease fire. You agree with me? Okay, let's change the language, fine. But what does that have to do with calling on, afraid of anti-this and anti-that? That's ridiculous. Everybody gets up, and you've never fought for people that's been killed in millions of numbers, in larger numbers, but you only get up for your self-interest. Like, oh my God, it's disgusting. We're talking about stop killing babies. Stop it on all levels. I don't care. I don't give a crap if they're Muslim killing babies. They're horrible people. I don't care if they're Christian killing babies. I don't care if they're Israeli. I don't care. No Jew that is praying and faithful and righteous is killing children. No Muslim that is prayerful and faithful and righteous is killing children. These people are political animals. It's for their interest. This has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with anti-Semite, and Arabs are Semite. It's ridiculous. Get up and oppose all killing of all civilians, of all children, not just the ones that line up with your political bullshit. Fight for children dying, hungry in the dark. Return all Israeli babies. Return all kidnapped Israeli people. It's wrong. Stop killing children, and no matter what race, you don't have to take a side. You just have to say, stop killing all innocent people. You don't have to be desperate for your campaign, for your politics. Say, stop killing all innocent children, no matter who you are, where you come from. Be brave. Don't worry about what people say. I pray that we are guided. I pray that all children find solutions in Sudan, in Niger, in Syria and Libya, in Australia, in Palestine, now in Lebanon. I pray that all children are safe in Israel, in everywhere. I pray that my colleagues are guided and that God removes all self-interest. I pray that we are judged based on our intention, and I pray that God forgives you for your cowardice. 1,000 children. Damn. As a human race, we've failed. We're in trouble. As much as you hate listening to me, as much as you disagree with me, it resonates with you. Because everything true comes from God. And whether you reject it or not, it will reverberate deep inside your bones. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. There's a point of order from Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
I just have a quick clarifying ask of the clerk, just to speak generally on proper procedure for discussion and suspensions of the rules, just so we know moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, would you respond to Councilor Coletta, please?
So when our colleagues make motions to object, especially for suspend and pass, can you outline the rules for proper procedure for discussion, please? Thank you.
The chair recognizes the clerk.
Usually based on our rules, if a councilor gets up and objects to the suspension and passage of a docket on the agenda or a late file item, typically that will be assigned directly to committee, and then the discussion would happen at the hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Councilor Carter, for bringing that up. There were two matters that were recently heard. I do think that there were some councilors that didn't get the opportunity to speak on either one of them because the conversation basically stopped when there was an objection. So those are the rules, whether we agree with them or disagree with them, but we chose to end the discussion, other than the fact that I did allow Councilor Flaherty and Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson as original co-sponsors to be the last person to speak. I think that's also fair and appropriate. I did not cut anyone off, although not everybody did get the opportunity to weigh in on the first docket or the second docket, such as myself. I didn't have the chance to speak on either of them. We're on to green sheets. Anyone wishing to pull the matter from a green sheet may do so now. We're on to the consent agenda. What? I've been informed by the clerk that there are no additions to the consent agenda. The chair moves for adoption of the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. The consent agenda has been adopted. We're on to memorials. Today we are going to adjourn our meeting in memory of the following: Councilor Braden, Brenda Mansell Flaherty, Councilor Coletta, Mary E. Smith. For the City Council body, Uncle Frank Chen of Chinatown. For Councilor Durkin, John Buxton. For Councilor Flynn, John A. Capola, Brian O'Donovan. For Councilor Louis Jean, Jane Marie Mascaret. For Councilor Orell, Naomi Ruth Anderson. A moment of silence, please. The chair moves that we adjourn today. We do so in memory of the above-mentioned individuals. We are now scheduled to meet again in the Ionella Chamber on Wednesday, October 25th at 12 noon. Before we adjourn, I want to say thank you to the clerk, the assistant clerk, my city council colleagues and their staff, city council central staff, Boston Police Department. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye. The council is adjourned.
Mr. President, I tried to add Ina names in on that. Ina was also my wife's college president, so.
Council Baker.
No, don't worry about it.
The council is adjourned.